What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we'll be going over a quick and easy guide on how to obtain the Finality'S Auger exotic catalyst. The Finality'S Auger is the newest dungeon exotic, available out of the Sundered Doctrine. It's an interesting linear fusion rifle that creates a turret that strikes down enemies with powerful solar projectiles, and by adding in its catalyst, you'll give this exotic the benefits of bait and switch, which provides this weapon with a 30% increase in damage after dealing damage with your other two weapons. To obtain this new catalyst, you will need to complete the Drowning Labyrinth quest, which is provided by Akora Ray. This quest sends players through hidden areas of the new dungeon to discover hidden worms and other clues that will lead you to acquiring this new catalyst, and we'll be breaking down each and every step of this quest to make it as simple and easy as possible. I do apologize for not getting this guide out any sooner. I've had a ton of doctor appointments over the last few weeks that have really slowed down my gaming ability, and it took a while to gather all the necessary footage for this quest. With that said, if you do find the video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below and help us win that battle against the YouTube algorithm. After you've unlocked access to the dungeon, you'll need to head over to the tower to pick up the Drowning Labyrinth quest. The very first step of this quest just requires you to complete the dungeon. Afterwards, you'll need to pick up a hidden report and enter a proposed code into the wheel at base camp. Base camp is located at the very beginning of the dungeon, and you'll find the first report on a table towards the right side of the room. After you've collected the report, head over to the wheel and enter in Savathun, Enter, and Pyramid as the first wheel code. This will open up access to hidden areas of the dungeon, but only during this instance. You will now need to discover 3 hidden worms within the dungeon. The first worm will be found just across the base camp, and it's going to be on the underside of the bridge.
They didn't ask to be born into this world. Sad, unloved things put together.
The second worm will be found in the control room area, which is just after the first encounter. There is a special door sealing this room's entrance, and you'll need to shoot the walls to open the path.
The dread who moved into my brother's ship, I won't defend. What a nasty group of people. Villains to their core. But I have had some lovely conversations.
The third worm will be located in the lens room, which is just after the second encounter. You might find it easier to complete the lens puzzle before going into the hidden room, but you'll find this room just over to the right and next to the worm symbol.
Play a game with me, Guardian. Imagine you're...
Now that you've found these worms, you'll need to restart the dungeon and return to the base camp. We'll be entering in a new code that matches up with the symbols that we saw in each of those 3 hidden rooms, and that's going to be Witness, Gift, and Darkness. After you've entered in the code and activated the wheel, your next objective will be to steal Dread Knowledge. You will need to head over to this area, which is near the entrance of the dungeon. You should be able to see Shriekers this time, and as you defeat the Dread, they will drop knowledge tokens. Pick these up and deposit them into the floor plate into the back of the room. You're going to need a total of 15 of these, so keep killing enemies until you're done. Once the plate has been activated, a doorway will open up at the back of the room with a console that you'll need to interact with. This will provide you with pyramid data, and it will progress you to the next step of the quest, which requires you to complete the final encounter of this dungeon, but it does not have to be in the same instance. If you're able to join a checkpoint for the final boss, that would count.
Guardian down.
After you've completed the dungeon for a second time, you'll need to restart and head back to base camp. Pick up the next report, which is not far from where you found the first, and you're now going to need to locate 3 more worms. The first worm will be found in the flooded inspection, which is in the opening areas of this dungeon.
Tides are too rich for my blood these days. I subsist on lighter fare, air, and...
The second worm will be found just after the first encounter. Just before you get to the boulder drop, you'll find a weighted door at the spillway. Jump up near the top of this door and it's going to come down.
Guardian down.
air.
The last worm that you'll need to find will be just after the second encounter. You'll enter into this area that has dead worms laying all over, and you'll find the hidden room over to your left. This is another room that requires you to shoot it to open, and only players that have access to the quest can open it.
Don't the hive down there look perfectly gourmet?
After you've found all 3 worms, you'll need to restart the dungeon, and this time it's for the purpose of entering a new code. This time we'll be putting in Hive, Grief, and Worm. After that's been entered, you'll need to make your way back through the first 2 encounters. Complete those and get back to where all the dead hive worms are. To complete this objective, you'll need to locate a yellow bar knight, but you're going to need to kill all the enemies in this area first. When you kill the yellow bar knight, he drops a worm, and you'll need to transport this worm up to a hidden room. You'll have a limited time to do this because the worm will explode. Once you've gotten to the hidden room, you'll need to interact with the wall so that the worm will blow it up. Just watch out though, because enemies will respawn. After that's done, you'll need to collect the next bit of pyramid data and complete the final encounter. Restart the dungeon and head back to base camp. Pick up the third and final report, which is on the table to the left. You'll now need to head back to the flooded inspection area, and you're going to be able to find our next hidden worm to the right side of the room.
Do you think about desires? About the animating...
Worm number 8 will be found just at the top of the boulder drop area. You'll have to make it all the way to the top of this jumping puzzle and activate a wall panel to enter into the hidden room. Just don't get squished on the way.
Guardian down. Guardian down.
The final worm will be found in a hidden room that's just before the final encounter. Kill all the enemies here in this room and jump on top of the doorway in the back. This will cause the door to drop down and the room to open up. And after you've collected the worm, you're going to need to restart the dungeon again, this time for the purpose of entering a new code, which will give us access to the control room where all those grims are.
Plenty of beings crave a strong hand.
We're going to need to put in Guardian, Knowledge, and Fleet at the wheel, and after it's been activated, we can head on into the dungeon and complete the first encounter. Once you've gotten to the control room area, you'll notice that there are lens scattered all across the area. You're going to need to connect the beams so that the light circles around the main structure. It's a pretty simple puzzle, the only hard part is keeping the enemies at bay. You are going to need a couple of lens along the way, and you'll be able to get those off the yellow bar knights. After you've looped the beam all the way around, the control room door will open up. You'll need to activate the wheel that's inside this room, after which you need to complete the rest of the dungeon within the same instance. And once you've completed the dungeon, the Drowning Labyrinth quest will technically be completed, and you'll be able to return to Icor Array. But to acquire the Finality's Auger Catalyst, you will need to go one step further. You'll need to re-enter the dungeon on a fresh run-through. Head into the base camp and enter in the code WORM GIVE Guardian. This will activate access to the catalyst once completing the final encounter, and it's going to be obtained from the chest that's locked behind the vault door, so be sure to stick around after beating the boss, because it's going to take some time for all the Hive symbols to populate. After you've acquired the catalyst for Finality's Auger, you will need to defeat enemies with it before you'll gain the benefits of Bait and Switch. It's around 300 final blows that you'll need to get, and since heavy ammo can be hard to come by, I would recommend going to a mission checkpoint, like the Lightfall mission Breakneck, where you'll have free rally banners. With that, we have come to an end of the Drowning Labyrinth quest and how to get the Finality's Auger Catalyst. I wish you all the best of luck in getting the Finality's Auger and its Catalyst. Let me know if you're still having any issues with the quest, and let me know what your impressions of this new dungeon and this new exotic are. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.